And I remember praying to God one day and I said, God, I want to be a teacher. That's what I want to go and do. But I remember saying, God, what is it that you want me to do? And I felt very clearly God say, I want you to be a minister in my church. I remember also reluctantly saying, God, that's not what I want to do, but if that's what you want me to do, then I will submit to it. And I had this huge, overwhelming sense of peace when I said that, and I just knew that is what I needed to do and to pursue that sense of calling.
I think the idea of a calling was something that was just a little bit bizarre to me. You have a life that you want to live, a job that you want to do, and you kind of design a plan for yourself. And I went to uni with the idea of going into publishing. I did an English degree and absolutely loved it. And then in second year of university, a role came up which I just felt instantly drawn to. I kind of came to the conclusion that it just wasn't right for me, because I was at uni and it was a full-time job. And I just felt God saying to me, just trust the process. So I went for it and I got the job. Just instantly, I just felt such purpose here in this role and fulfillment. And I didn't realise how much I would absolutely love working with young people.
Behind the scenes, I'd had the sense, I suppose, that God might be calling me into Christian ministry and to leadership. I certainly didn't feel that was an immediate call. I lacked confidence, I lacked maturity, probably still do, and just felt if it was real that would be something later on in life when I was much wiser. Just remember sitting down one night and journaling, and I just wrote to God, if becoming a vicar is something you really want me to do, you are going to have to give me a really big sign. Next morning, woke up, took the kids to a toddler group, and then someone came and sat down next to me and said, so weren't you thinking about ordination, Hannah?
I think for me now, wearing the collar and all of that, it's actually breaking down the stereotypes, because for me, I don't feel like I'm your stereotypical vicar. I'm a guy in my 30s who likes to run, and so actually there's been a lot of work that God has been doing in me over the past couple of months of showing you, well, what does your ordained minister look like? And for me, it's just being who I am, the person that God has called me to be.
I feel like God put me in this position for a reason, to kind of touch these young people's lives, but also so they could touch mine. And I think with young people these days, my experience has been that they think church is a building. They think church is outdated, and they think that church is the 5 old people sitting in the pews, and it's really been just incredible, really, changing that perspective for them.
I think one of the best parts of my job, part of the job description, as it were, the vows that you take when you're ordained, is to make Christ known. And I think that's just amazing that for my job and who I am, I just get to talk about Jesus, I get to point to God, I get to chat with people, whether that's 4 years old, 84 years old, about who God is, who Jesus is, who the Holy Spirit is.
I've been raised in a rural family. I live on a farm in the middle of nowhere, and so you get talking to the sheep. My identity is so much stronger now in who I am now as a woman of faith, and I think part of that was moving back to Cumbria and being physically surrounded by all this natural beauty and just seeing the absolute awe-inspiring work of God all around me, and that kind of creativity.
I think God is amazing that He creates us so individual and so different that actually each one of us has a very different sense of calling, and we're called to different things. So if you feel that God is calling you to something, then explore it, because there are people that you'll be able to share Jesus with that I simply can't.
I think we really need younger people in ministry, in all forms of ministry. We want to be reaching people of all ages. We need to have people in ministry of all ages.
And so I really do encourage anybody that feels called and is terrified of that calling, just trust God, because if it's right, it'll be right.